Hey there, happy day 26 of our Get Up and Go Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and we're going to be talking about emo soap today. What the heck is emo soap? Soap is, of course, the framework we've been learning to handle any change or challenge that comes our way. Emo happens to deal with the emotional aspect of our life. We've done the physical, the financial, and the relationships in detail. We've gone SOAP, a day for each, and we've done an exercise or a tool for each one. Now today, as I was thinking about it, and yesterday I started, and I planned it out about a week ago, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do one day for each of the other 4 areas. So we'll do emotional today, we'll do mental tomorrow, we'll do spiritual, and then contribution over the next 4 days. We only have a handful of days or so left together. So what are we going to do to get the biggest bang for our buck? So I'm thinking yesterday, and I'm mapping out, I'm going through my tools list, and I'm thinking about the different tools, and I thought, okay, I'll do a tool for the S, the O, the A, and the P for each of these, because then I can share more tools. And I realized as I was looking at it this morning, I'm like, there is no way I will be talking for an hour if I try to cover 4 tools in each of these areas. So what I'm going to do is just start talking through how I actually do and apply the SOAP framework to my emotions, to the emotional aspects and areas of my life, how I've done it in the past and how I do it now. And I'll share a couple of tools. And I think I'm going to have to come up with a different idea. Open to suggestions in the comments below of how I can share all of those tools that I've accumulated over the years. I think it'd be a good book or a good story or a good workshop, but it's going to be more than like a one-day workshop, because I have, at least 100 tools. Maybe I'll pick my 100 favorite tools, or I've tried to do my 30 favorite tools for this, but I realize that so many of them are my favorite, I don't know what to share all the time when. So let's talk about our emotions. What does our emotional life and how we deal with or don't deal with our emotions have to do with anything, and especially with how we're living our life? One thing about emotions, we like to think that we're these rational beings. I am not a scientist, I'm an engineer by profession and trade, and I like to think that I'm very logical and very organized, not so much if you look around me, and I'm very detail oriented. Now I can do those things, I can do details, but I really don't like doing them. I used to like doing number studies and time and motion studies and statistics and analyzing data and things. It used to be right up my alley because it was fun. It was just fun. Math has always been, and science and engineering has always been fun for me. So mostly I did it so I could ignore my emotions, right? So I could not pay attention to what was going on with me emotionally. And I recently found out, for a couple reasons. I'll go through an example tomorrow under the mental and mindset things aspect of our life tomorrow, but today let's stick with our emotions. It's interesting. If you look at a list of emotions or a list of words, you'll find that it's about 80% negative, 20% positive. If you look at something called the emotional guidance system, which I've talked about on a previous challenge, so you could go to the unit section and find that video and watch about the emotional guidance system. And that's one of the tools I want to talk about today. But it takes more than 10 minutes to talk about the emotional guidance system and how you can apply it to your life. But realize that we all have this system within us, and we are this huge consciousness facilitator. Our body is, and in our body we feel different emotions. We feel our emotions. We think we feel them. Where do you think your emotions are in your body? Where do you think you feel your emotions? Is it your heart? Is it your head? Is it your gut, your intestines, your stomach? Is it that little tweaky place in your back when you're feeling stressed out or upset about something? Where do you feel your emotions? We all have this system, and our body and our mind will indicate to us, our subconscious will bubble up and let us know if we are feeling a certain way. We all know how we feel when we fall in love, or how we feel when we're afraid. So let's take fear. I think I've dealt with frustration in past Get Up and Go challenges, so that's another one. You could just search frustration on the group page, the private group page, and you could find the whole walkthrough for the emotional guidance system and the SOAP framework, both in the unit section, just by searching. So I've done frustration. So instead of doing frustration today and walking through the SOAP framework and how I would apply the emotional SOAP framework for frustration, which I picked that one because I used to feel frustrated a lot. Frustration was the most common feeling I felt throughout my working day, through other areas and aspects of my life too, because when I was frustrated at work, it filtered through, since I had my own businesses, it was filtering through into all the other aspects and areas of my life. It was filtering through to my family, to my relationships, to my and what I would choose to do and not do because I was frustrated. So I've dealt with that one in the past. So today let's deal with fear, specifically the fear of COVID-19. So if I'm looking at the framework of the SOAP framework and I'm asking myself, and I've just found out about COVID-19, or maybe right now, I don't know which would be more appropriate, but I'll try to give a good example. So let's say my situation, my story, my S that I'm telling myself is COVID-19 is out. I'm afraid of it. I have got past health challenges. I dropped dead in 2010, so I obviously have some underlying health challenges. Plus, I've got a big history of health challenges. So, and I'm 60. I turned 60 right as COVID-19 was hitting. So I'm in that age bracket where we need to be concerned. Or not we, I need to be concerned, right? This is about the emotional SOAP, and all of this is about you and how you deal with changes and challenges. So find out about COVID-19. Let's say I'm afraid to get COVID-19. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid that if I get COVID-19, I will die. So that's my current situation. That's the story I'm telling myself, that I need to be afraid of COVID-19 or I could die. No, I sound like when I was raising my kids. I guess I was quite the alarmist in warning them against the hazards of everything. I don't remember that. I blocked that out, but my sisters remind me of it periodically. And so do my daughter and son. They're like, oh my God, Mom, you were always telling us we were going to die if we did something. So fear of COVID-19, fear if I get COVID-19, I'm going to die. That's the current story I'm telling myself. So what do I want? What do I want my story to be about COVID-19? I personally want to stay healthy and continue living my life as I am living my life, and with a few modifications due to COVID-19. But basically, I want to stay healthy. That's what I want. So I'm afraid I'm going to die of COVID-19. This story I'm telling myself, and the story I want to be telling myself, is I am healthy and safe and protected, and I don't have to worry about COVID-19. So that's the S. Now the O of it, what are the options? What are all my options to fill the gap? Because right now I'm afraid of COVID-19 and I want to be healthy and happy and stay healthy. How do I fill that gap? How do I get from being afraid to being confident that I'm going to stay healthy? What are some of the options? Number one, and I would just do this in my head really quickly, right? I could learn more about what I need to do to stay safe. I could apply some of those things that I learned, and I could find real experts, and as much information as I could follow the recommendations of experts. And so I would brainstorm. Mostly it would involve figuring out what I need to do to keep myself safe. So what are some things I could do? I could go online, I could search, I could look for experts, I could look for journals, I could listen to documentaries, whatever ways I could go about finding ways to keep myself safe, because that would fill the gap. The more things I'm doing, and the things that I'm doing that make sense to give me more confidence in my health, would all be things. I could eat right, I could look at my diet, I could look at my exercise, I could look at, this was before at the beginning and we didn't know about social distancing, but I make sure I don't go out to eat in restaurants, I don't go to the stores, I don't go places where I could possibly catch it. Now, other people can, because they aren't susceptible like I am, but in order to reduce my fear, I can just choose not to participate in those activities. So the A in our SOAP framework is action. What am I going to do? What am I actually going to do? What are some of the things I've done? I've done the research and looked into it myself. I figured out what I need to do to keep myself safe and confident. I make sure that the people I come in contact with are very cognizant about their behavior. I don't come in contact with very many people. I am social distance. I do things remotely. I do almost everything I do via the internet or via online or via Zoom and all the technologies that I've been using for years that a lot of people didn't even know existed. My age didn't even know existed until COVID-19. So that's the action. And then the P, the progress. How do I know I'm making progress? Well, guess what? It's been how many months and I have not gotten sick at all. Not only have I not gotten sick with COVID-19, but I haven't gotten sick with anything else either. And so I'm confident that I will be fine. And if I continue to follow my personal protocol, which I've set up as habits and routines and rituals now, online purchasing, having people pick up my prescriptions, having people deliver my groceries, and sanitizing and doing things in ways that ensure my safety, I would say, and what we're going to do today for our action item is we're going to pick one emotion. I want you to pick one emotion. It can be love, it can be fear, it can be jealousy, it can be greed, it can be doubt, worry, anxiety, frustration, fear. It can be, I think I said fear twice. It can be any emotion that you can think of. Maybe it's an emotion that you've noticed that you're feeling often and a lot, and you want to just explore it a little further. We almost never, at least the vast majority of us, almost never actually spend even 30 seconds exploring our emotions and why we're feeling a certain way. Sometimes just knowing why we're feeling something, we eliminate the reason we're feeling that way, and boom, it just is gone. And so sometimes we don't need to go through the whole analysis. We need to just go through, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip right to the action, and then we make sure we put systems in place so that that thing can't happen or bother us again. I'm trying to think of a quick example of that. Say you're feeling insecure about something. Well, you can ask the person that you're feeling insecure, look at the situation that you're feeling insecure about, and find out the facts of what's really going on. So often with fear, we build things up in our mind, or we make up stories in our mind that absolutely are not true or even possible. We make up this big scenario and this big story in our mind, especially about what other people are thinking and doing and their intentions. The only way you know is if you ask them. Heck, half the time people do stuff, they don't even know why they do it. So don't ever assume that you know why people do what they do, because I gotta admit, there's sometimes I do things without even thinking about it, and I don't know exactly why I do it. A lot of times it's habit, it's routine, it's past beliefs, it's just past scripts playing out automatically that we're not even aware of. And so somebody might be doing something to irritate you or upset you or cause you stress, and they don't even know they're doing it. You know, it's when we get irritated by other people's behaviors or habits. You know, I have a friend who clears her throat all the time. It's a nervous thing in her throat, but she clears her throat all the time, and it can get to be really irritating. But then when you find out that she's got a disease that causes her to have clogginess and tickling in her throat all the time, and you understand that, it doesn't irritate you anymore. You actually feel bad because you know that she's having to deal with this all the time. And if you think it bothers you, do you think it doesn't bother her even more? Absolutely, positively does. So we're going to take an emotion today, and we're going to ask ourselves about the intensity of that emotion. So on a scale of 1 to 10, we're going to combine some skills that we've learned already. How strongly am I feeling about this? So when I first heard about COVID-19, I was fearful of it. I would have given myself like an 8. I would say, okay, I'm in an 8. And then I would run through my SOAP framework, and I would ask myself after I run through it, and just do it in your head. If you want to write it out, that's really powerful. But if you don't need to, the purpose of the next 4 days is try to get you to install this process into your subconscious. You can just do it in your head, and you can do it in your mind. And then you can just save it for the bigger challenges, the bigger changes that you need to consider, that you actually sit down and write out and go through the 4 steps of the SOAP framework. But I want you to be able to do it like me. Hey, I'm feeling hungry, so what do I do about it, right? When we're feeling hungry, we know what to do about it. If you got to go to the bathroom, you know what to do about it. You don't have to sit and write down the steps of the process to get yourself to go to the bathroom or to get yourself to go and get something to eat, right? We don't have to consciously think about all the steps all the time. And that's what the next 4 days are about, practicing that. So pick an emotion, any emotion, rate on 1 to 10 how strongly you're feeling about it. 0 or 1. 1, I don't really have a whole lot of emotion around it, to 10. If you're only feeling a 1 about something, I say look for another emotion, right? And pick that. Pick one that you're feeling a high level of emotion about, right? So if I'm feeling fear, I want it to be like a 7 to 10 before I'm even going to go through the SOAP framework with it. So fear, what are you feeling at the beginning of the SOAP framework? Go through the SOAP framework, actually do it, do something about it, and then ask yourself, how am I feeling about it? So the first time I heard about COVID-19 and was thinking about it, actually during COVID-19, I had one COVID-19 scare. And that was, I had been with my sister, and she had gotten her hair done, and her hairdresser tested positive for COVID-19. Now, it turns out that when we investigated it, because instead of freaking out, we investigated it. We found out what the deal was. She called and got some expert information about, well, what's the exposure time, da 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 da. And it turns out she was outside the exposure time. She didn't even have to be contacted in contact tracing and things. But she had let me know in case, just to be careful, so that we all had a heads up. So that was our COVID scare. I've only had I think one during all this time period. So now I do know people that have had COVID. I do not personally know anyone that has died, but I do know people that have tested positive, some that have had absolutely positively 0 symptoms. So how do you feel at the beginning of that? And then go through the SOAP framework, and then how do you feel at the end? When I heard that, I probably was about a 6 or a 7, thinking, meh, because we didn't know if she had been exposed to it or not, right? And we didn't know if my sister was in that time frame. We didn't know anything about it. We just knew that somebody she knew and had been with a little over a week ago had turned out that she had tested positive for COVID-19. So we went through all that. But when I went through the SOAP framework, maybe I was at a 6 or a 7. But by the time I went through the process, I was only at like a 2 or a 3. I'm like, okay, the probability is really low. I'm not going to get upset or panic or worried about this. I'm just going to do what I need to do to make sure that I continue to be safe. So it turns out that she tested positive, but nobody around her, including her parents who she lives with, both tested negative. So it was just kind of a fluky thing that, here again, we don't understand about all the testing and the positives and the negatives and the information that we're getting. So we just need to take a deep breath sometimes and realize that we will survive and we will figure it out. We'll figure everything out. So today, emotional. Pick an emotion, rate it 1 through 10, go through the SOAP framework, rate it again. To share on the homework assignment, just share the emotion that you explore and then your beginning and ending number. We just want to see if it worked. And don't beat yourself up if your number stays the same. It just is what it is. Maybe you just need to go through the framework again and try it again. All right, I didn't share all the tools I was going to share today. I was going to share a rampage of desires. I was going to share who does it belong to, which we've already talked about a little, or is it true? Questions to ask when you're looking at your story, because a lot of times we tell ourselves stories about ourselves that are absolutely positively not true. Emotional guidance system, we touched on a little. Walk in the park, cancel, stop, erase, or eraser and reset. Pick a something. I can't see it. I can't read. I can't see my notes. And then affirmations and afformations. No way I could cover all those. So that's it. That's our assignment. That is our challenge for today. Practice using your SOAP. Practice every day. Use your SOAP every day, right? Especially during crazy times like COVID-19. Any questions? Hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow. And tomorrow we will run through the SOAP framework about our mental health, our mental aspects of our life.